Hi friends. I've been reading that Bill Murray's Groundhog Day has been hailed as an all-time great quarantine movie. It makes sense. Bill Murray's character is stranded in Punxsutawney. He's quarantined there because of a snowstorm, if you will. And no matter what he tries, he can't get out. He wakes up every single morning having to repeat the same day over and over again. And you find out that he's really stuck not in Punxsutawney, he's stuck in who he is. He's juvenile, he's immature, he's self-centered. He tries all sorts of things to get his love interest, but every single day he fails. And he has to wake up and try all over again. I'm thinking about that because in many ways, we are practicing with ourselves, repeating ourselves again and again every single morning. If I said a tree, most of us would have a pretty good idea of what I meant by that. Or if I said table, similarly, most of us would have a pretty good idea. But if I use that personal pronoun, I, myself, that's a little bit more challenging. It's a pronoun, which means it's not a concrete noun. It stands in for something that's largely a shifter. I think about I, that self, that pronoun, and I wonder if it's like something we have leased and rented for a while so that we can make our way. This self, this I, that helps us to calibrate our relationship to our surroundings and to one another. It helps us to reference a particular point between now and then, here and there. But this self, this I, is so indeterminate. It's still unfolding. It feels so uncertain. And it feels so vulnerable to old age and sickness and mortality. It makes plenty good sense to me, that paradigmatic story of Prince Siddhartha, who is raised behind these walls to fortify his vulnerable self, these walls that shelter and anchor us, that gives us a sense that we're legitimate, we're grounded. As we do our spiritual practice, you may find that our wandering mind begins to settle into a focused mind. And our focused mind begins to realize the afflicted mind. That within these walls, we realize that even there, we're not invulnerable to sickness and illness and mortality and our human condition. And like Bill Murray's character, we may endlessly repeat ourselves trying to legitimize ourselves, to make ourselves invulnerable and protected and safe. But at a certain point, we begin to realize this afflicted mind, that there is always going to be a degree of unsatisfactoriness. And it's at that point that spiritual practice can really shift us to our mindful minds, where we learn to be brave, more honest with ourselves, where we find that we can apply our focused mind to old age, to sickness, to guilt, to shame, to embarrassment, to unsatisfactoriness. And it's in that mindful mind practice that we begin to realize that the very vulnerability of the self turns out also to be the very generosity of ourself, the freedom of ourself, the intimacy of ourself with everything and everyone around us. And as we step into that realization, we deepen what the Buddhists call the wise mind. And so, friends, we continue with our practice.